Hi, I'm Ron HOCK. You can make a shoulder plane like this one or this one from one of our new shoulder plane kits. Let me show you how. Dry assemble the sides and blocks. I like to hold the parts together with spring clamps for the initial alignment. The side should be flush to the ends of the blocks at both ends. Insert the iron by angling it through the throat opening. Once inserted, hold the iron bevel down against the rear block and slide it gently down the ramp. The iron should almost, but not quite, be able to clear the throat opening. Adjust the spacing of the blocks as necessary. When the parts are in the correct place, drill 1/4-inch holes along the top of the assembly. Don't worry too much about the placement of these holes. They'll be trimmed off later when you shape your plane. Before removing the clamps, mark a triangle on the back of the sides and the rear block so that you can reassemble everything in the same orientation later. Sand off any splinters or fuzz from the holes. Start the dowels into the holes enough to locate one side. Mark the inside of the side so you'll know later where not to apply glue. This is a convenient time to do a preliminary fit of the wedge. Assemble one side for a better view, but don't tap in the wedge, just press it in with your fingers. Get as close as you can with sandpaper or a block plane. You'll do a final fit later as needed. Use paste wax on both ramps and the area of the sides exposed between the ramps to make excess glue easier to remove later. Use a small brush or swab to get into the narrow area where the iron and wedge will go. Spread an even layer of glue on all glue surfaces. Double check that all parts are properly oriented and assemble them for clamping. Use clamping cauls to distribute pressure evenly when gluing. I have packing tape on these, but you can wax them to prevent them from sticking to the plane body. The cauls should bear only on the sides, not on the blocks. I made these 1 1/4 inches wide by 10 inches long. Apply and tighten the clamps and put the plane body aside for now. When the glue is partially dry, use a 1/4-inch chisel to clean any partially cured glue from the ramps and sides. Do not remove the clamps at this point, except to gain access for cleaning up glue. While the glue is drying, I'm going to sharpen the blade a little bit. You can learn a lot about sharpening by reading my book, The Perfect Edge. First, flatten and polish the back. I'm using a ceramic waterstone here, but you can use whatever abrasive you have, just make sure it's flat. Once the blade is uniformly surfaced, proceed to finer abrasives and continue to polish the back. You can hone the bevel freehand, but this shoulder plane doesn't have a lot of lateral adjustment, so you'll need to be sure to keep the edge square. If you aren't confident that you can do that, you may want to employ a honing guide to help. I'm using a Veritas Mark II honing guide, but you can use whatever you have. This one includes a blade extension guide for setting the angle. Once set squarely at the right extension, tighten the blade clamp securely. The small tang on these blades makes them a bit tricky to hold. As with the back, advance through the finer grits until your edge is perfect. When the glue is dried, trim off the dowels with a chisel or a small saw. Use sandpaper or a plane to surface the sides so that both sides are flat and parallel to each other. When you are done with the sides, flatten the sole, making sure it is square to the sides. A block of wood or a joiner fence can be used as an aid to ensure the sole remains square to the sides. With the body true and square, begin opening the throat. Use a sharp chisel or a file and remove just enough material for the iron to poke through. The narrower the throat opening is, the better your plane will work. Check the fit of the wedge at this point and adjust it as necessary, again using sandpaper or a small block plane. With the wedge in place but the blade safely backed up, lightly sand the sole of the plane. Adjustment is simply a matter of tapping the tang to extend the blade or tapping the rear of the plane to retract the blade. Be careful when tapping the rear of the plane that the wedge doesn't loosen enough for the blade to fall through the mouth. You may need to trim the wedge to permit better access to the blade for adjustment. When you get it working properly, shape your new plane to suit, simple or fancy. A coat of oil will accentuate the wood grain and help the wood stay clean. It's really just that easy. Enjoy your new shoulder plane. I'm Ron HOCK from HOCK Tools. Thanks for watching.